It's been a great start to the week for the stock of AMD, jumping up Advanced Micro Devices by about 10% on Monday. So what's behind this, and is there more to come? I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at AMD. I mean, it's been a pretty good performer over the last 12 months or so. A lot of the gains from this year, though, I suppose, have come from the last couple of months. So I thought, well, let's take a look at the stock, see what's behind this rise. It's all to do, or partly to do, with the metaverse. Then we'll come back onto the platform and look at the charts and the technicals in a bit more detail. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd do an update on AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, considering the move that we've seen this week in the stock. So as usual, we'll catch up with some of that recent news, why we saw it jump 10% earlier this week, talk about some of the wider news about the company, analyst expectations, that sort of thing. Then we'll jump onto the platform and take a look at the stock in a bit more detail from a technical point of view. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel. It means we can continue to push out lots of different stock commentary throughout the week. Right, let's get into it and take a look at AMD in a bit more detail. So AMD stands for Advanced Micro Devices. It's a semiconductor business, came to the market in 1979, and it shifted to the NASDAQ, I think in the last 5 or 6 years or so. And the big news this week was that the shares were up 10% on Monday of this week. So a great start to the week. It said it had won Meta, which of course we know now is used to be known as Facebook, changed its name this week because of the metaverse. It said it had won business with Meta. As a chip company, it said that both Meta and AMD had been working together to deliver a high power, high performance and efficient processor. Of course, a lot of focus on Facebook/Meta in the last couple of weeks because of its announcement of its plans for the metaverse, many seen as the next stage of the internet, and stocks associated with this we have seen gain quite sharply. But it's not just Meta/Facebook that AMD have won business with. Also, Microsoft are going to use AMD processors in its Azure cloud service. And also earlier this week, it announced a new range of chips that it's going to launch. So the company is in the process, and has been for a number of years now, of taking some market share away from Intel. So investors very excited by this latest bunch of announcements in the last 24 hours. But if we go back to a comparison to Intel, let's take a look at the price to earnings ratio. Intel trades on a PE ratio of around 10. AMD's PE ratio is around 45. So some investors would see the stock as expensive on that sort of benchmark. But of course, higher PE ratios can often signal much greater expectations for the future of the stock. So we have to be careful about being just too binary when it comes to judging companies on PE ratios. AMD's been a great performer, so it's no surprise that analysts are bullish on the stock. The highest 12 months target is around $180. There's a median target of around 140, but the rise that we saw in the stock on Monday surpassed this 140 anyway. So I think we could well be up for some analyst revisions and some new targets for the stock in the couple of weeks ahead. But as I say, it's been a good year for AMD. The stock is up by 60% so far this year, so outperforming what have been really strong markets anyway, outperforming the likes of the NASDAQ, of course. But before we jump on and have a look at the technicals, let's just take a look at some of the levels to watch. So on the upside, the obvious hurdle is that all-time high hit yesterday. So traded up to $153 the all-time high. Let's see if it can surpass that. Are we going to see enough investor enthusiasm to move past that? When it comes to the most immediate support, for me, it's the low from just last Friday, which is a pretty recent low, but of course it has moved a lot this week. That comes in around $134 for the stock. But as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's take a look at the charts. I thought we'd start things off with a longer term view. So I've got this chart going back to the beginning of 2018. And you can see, over the years, we have seen the stock gently drifting higher. We've had a gradual uptrend for AMD. Perhaps a little bit sideways for a lot of 2021, started moving again in the summer of 2021. So what I want to focus on is probably the move from the May lows into where we are now. So here's our trend at the moment. We'll come back to that in a second. I thought we'll have a 20-day moving average as well on there. And of course, moving averages, we get a buy signal when the price moves above the moving average, like back here towards the end of July, and a sell signal when the price falls below the moving average, like we had here in September. The latest signal came, we've got to go back to the first week of October, as the price moved through about $104 for the stock. Moving average signal gave a buy. And of course, this is where we are now. At the moment, it would take weakness in that price below about 125 to trigger a sell signal for the stock. If we take a look at the RSI down below, not surprisingly, we've got an extreme reading on the RSI, an overbought RSI. But actually, the RSI has been pretty much overbought since the middle of October. And the price has, of course, continued higher. As I often say, extreme move in markets can give us extreme readings in the RSI. So it's something to bear in mind that clearly, after a 10% move in one day, we know the price is pretty extreme anyway. But for those who perhaps want to be a bit more patient, they'd use this as a reason to hang on and see if we get a sell-off in the stock. So let's go back to that trend. So the trend that we're currently looking at goes back to May 2021. So we're 6 months into this trend line support coming in around 110. And that, for me, that's an obvious area to watch. This whole zone from around about $100, the lows that we saw in late September through to early October, trend line at 110. If we did see the price come under pressure from where it is now, and it sold off really heavily, this is one zone I'd be looking at. Before that, I think we've got to watch the 120 area. So pretty much the lows, 118, 120. From beginning of November, if we saw some weakness down to there, again, plenty could view that as a buying opportunity. But at the moment, with the trends we've got for AMD, even before this explosive move earlier in the week, this 10% rise, the trend was pretty much up. So from a trend follower's point of view, it still remains for now well above that trend line and above that moving average. Very much a buy the dip stock if we're looking at it from a technical analysis viewpoint. That's it for this update in AMD. We'll come back to it in the weeks ahead, see if it can build on these gains or has it been somewhat overdone in the short term. We'll do an update and see where it's trading then. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your investing. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.